detective. Thrill me.
Thanks for joining us again for another action episode. Unfortunately, we couldn't talk Gibbo and Maddie into coming back.
Got many important things
They
to
are,
do.
look, they are busy. They're much busier men than us.
So they
Which
say.
is funny. You should be a busy man.
I've got nothing else in my
I
life,
am
mate.
not a busy man, I can tell you that. But tonight's episode, we're going to cover a disaster film. We're going to do 1997's Dante's Peak. But let's get to what we've been watching. I'm going to go first. I actually got a couple of newer flicks out and some new stuff done. I went and saw Bat Boys for Life,
As did I.
and I loved it.
Yep.
In fact, I saw
Crows
one
in
and a
the oven.
half versions
Crows
because
in the oven.
there was a massive hailstorm
Yeah.
that occurred whilst I was watching it the first time, and everything got stopped.
Yep.
So I got to see it in full the second time. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I thought the trailer looked terrible.
Yeah, so did
I remember seeing the trailer and thinking, why are we back?
Yep.
But they kind of nailed it.
Yeah, they did.
Tonally, they brought it felt like the first one. It felt like we were back in the first one. Both Smith and Lawrence, you know, the chemistry's there again. There's some funny stuff. I love the captain.
Yeah.
Especially that sequence where he's in the office with Will Smith and he just suddenly out of nowhere goes, fuck me. He starts going, fuck. Like, I love some of that. They throw a couple of curveballs in
Yep.
and they work out really well. And as a whole, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I thought it was a real
happy.
winner.
I was happy.
Very happy. I saw 47 metres down uncaged. Some not bad visual stuff.
Yeah, it's not terrible. It's not terrible.
No, it's terrible.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's terrible.
terrible.
The visually, it's got some nice moments,
It was passable in stretches.
but just the machinations of getting in there,
Yeah.
and the movements by one particular character,
Yeah.
it's just awful. It's
Yeah.
terrible,
Yep.
and the performance given by, well, no, it's not her performance. The character she's given, Sylvester Stallone's daughter.
Yeah. Terrible.
She's got absolutely
One of the
nothing
worst
to work
characters
with.
I've seen in a while. Yeah.
So you can't say, oh, yeah, her performance was terrible, because God, imagine reading that script.
Yeah. What about the ending? It just never stopped.
Yeah, it took like 5 goes. It was just stupidity.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was
Of the
pretty
highest
random.
level.
The reason I
The
say it
first
wasn't
one-
terrible was because I did like a few of the shark.
Yeah, a couple of shark moments
sequences
were okay.
alright.
The first one is the kind of B picture that works. The first one took some stupidity as well, but did it much better.
Yeah.
This one it was so silly. The
Yep.
stuff they got up to. I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yep.
Shout out to our mate Luke on Instagram. He mentioned this is one we could possibly do as an episode. So
Yes,
I'm not going to talk at length.
Look, I've got it there locked and loaded, so it could come up very shortly.
Other than to say, I really enjoyed it.
Yep.
It meanders a little. Tarantino, he does like his, he can get a little self-indulgent, but
When he's good,
it
he's
pays
good.
off in spades for me, and it's very amusing at times.
Good to hear.
And the acting is top class. Top class. I saw Coco, the
Ooh.
Pixar film. Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I've seen a couple of the newer Pixar ones, or ones that I'd kind of missed on the initial go-round,
Yeah.
and I found them to be pretty good. They're not the main, the Toy Stories or anything like that. So I saw Coco and I saw Moana. Moana was probably a little less...
Personally,
Little
I
lower.
think, my personal opinion, I think Coco is one of their absolute best.
Yeah, it had some
love
real good
Coco.
things in it. Yeah, it was really, really well done. And some really cool visual stuff.
And if you don't shed a tear sort of down the stretch,
Yeah.
you made a stone, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I got slightly emotional, I'm not going to lie. It was good. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Season 6. Gold.
Yeah.
Still MVP of the entire show is Andre Braugher.
Oh,
he's just
fantastic.
awesome. I just love that deadpan. And then when he starts to fire up about something,
Yeah.
he's
There
still
was one
sort
about
of...
when he's telling everyone else they get overly agitated about things, and someone says, "What about you?" When they added another flute to the Philharmonic or something, he starts going, "That muddies the sound." That's blowing.
And I also knocked off a few more episodes of The World According to Jeff Goldblum. Again, greatly enjoyable, really short, does a really good job with it. And he's a eclectic cat, so he's different about the way it's done. And the last thing I watched was Killer Inside, The Mind of Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah.
Look, I had listened to a podcast about this previously that was quite in-depth as well. And I think some of what was in this may have come out of that, e.g. the phone calls between him and his mother and his girlfriend and stuff while he's in jail that sort of shed a bit more light on things. Look, it was interesting and it was well made, but in a way it kind of never quite really touched on the one thing I think people are forgetting in all of this. They keep saying that, was it CTE?
Yeah.
That may have done something, and as one bloke said, that's a massive cop-out. It's a huge cop-out. That's not why he did it. Was it the fact that he was perhaps a closet gay man? There wasn't a lot of evidence of that. I think that people are forgetting that he made bad choices, and he hung around with bad people. And this is what ends up happening.
Yeah, true.
And also,
I guess if you're in that situation and then you add the CTE stuff as well, though, it's
a bit of a perfect storm.
Yeah.
And to add to all that, you're a professional sportsman who has had his ass wiped and his indiscretions covered up for years. So you think you're above the law. And so I think people are forgetting that, and they do touch on that.
Yeah.
Which was good. It's just kind of like they kind of bring some things up and they throw a little bit out there, but it doesn't go into great detail about it. So I think what they're trying to say is exactly what you're saying. It's a little bit of a mix of everything. It's well made and worth a look.
Right.
Possibly a bit too long. 3 episodes probably not necessary, really. But that's it.
Right.
What do you got?
Well, I got into a bit of Netflix true crime as well.
Really?
I watched Don't Fuck With Cats.
Oh, yeah? How was that?
Yeah.
I hear that's really cool.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Because the case was very strange anyway. The guy was, he had a couple of screws loose, but he was trying to put himself in the public eye in particular ways and stuff like that. The best part about it is they spend a lot of time with these people that started a Facebook group of trying to catch the guy from the initial videos of him killing cats and things. And the lengths that they got to were pretty freaking impressive.
Yeah. They
did get a tip, and they believe it was from him. He told him the name because, part of go into detail on all of this, that part of his thing was he wanted to be famous, basically.
I can think of better ways to be famous than that.
Yeah, and really the strength of the series is on them because it's an angle that you haven't really seen. After they get the tip and they sort of find out who he is, the lengths that they manage to, the information that they manage to gain just from small details is fucking unbelievable. Yeah. Essentially, it gets to the point where they were tipping off police, and if police had have been sort of more open to the communications, perhaps it might not have even happened.
Yeah.
Like it was quite unbelievable the amount of detail they got to. But
wow.
Yeah, it's the same. As it gets further into the crime, they fall off a little bit because obviously things had happened then that the police, gathered and started putting together as well. But yeah, it was pretty unbelievable the things that happened around it. So it's interesting from that perspective. Same thing. It's 3 episodes. Probably could have been a really strong 2 episodes or one sort of 2.5 hour sort of thing, because I think they stretched it out to about 3 hours, and I think it's worth a look if you like that stuff.
Yeah.
Finished up Nosferatu. Yeah, quite enjoyed it. I think they made some big changes to the book, which I'd mentioned previously. Towards the back end, they actually bring a character in that I thought they just ditched, because they kind of replace this character in a way, but then bring him around towards the end, which I wasn't expecting. Overall, I'll be happy to see a bit more. It'd be interesting to see where they went without.
Was that on Amazon Prime?
It's on Amazon, yeah. Where they went without Joe Hill's work, because as far as I'm aware, there's not going to be another book before they would try to knock up a second season. So Yeah, I'm in. They made a few moves with certain characters to keep them around that may not have happened otherwise if it was just, if they knew it was just going to be a one-season deal or whatever. So, yeah, I'm interested. Season 2 of Titans showed up.
Yep. Knocked it over?
Liking it. I haven't finished it yet. I'm halfway through. Isai Morales as Deathstroke.
Oh.
Love his work.
Yeah?
It's pretty cool. I think this show's kind of right up... I've said it before, but it kind of goes between that real hardcore sort of Daredevil tone and the cheesy kind of Arrow and Flash.
Yeah.
It's sort of in the middle
ground
somewhere. And for me, it works pretty well. I think they try to be fairly... They try to use the source material, try to be fairly reverent of the source material, but also manage to do their own things in a couple of ways.
Sure.
They've managed to sneak Bruce Wayne in this season, which is...
that's all right.
The casting wasn't what I was expecting, but I'll run with it. I actually got into a little bit of Indian horror too during the week.
Oh, yeah.
I watched a film called Tumbad, which was also on Amazon. Yeah, it was actually really good. It's sort of a folky tale. When it sort of got into it, I compared it a little bit to something like an episode of Jim Henson's Storyteller or something like that. It was quite good. I wasn't expecting it. There was a bit of singing, but it wasn't from the characters. It was in the background. There was some very heartily performed numbers in the background there. But yeah, I was really happy with it. Essentially, it's kind of a tale about greed and that sort of thing. But quite good if you get around to it. Bad Boys. I was also very happy with Bad Boys for Life. I also watched Bad Boys 2.
Oh.
Wasn't so happy to revisit.
Was it that bad?
I had the memories of it just being terrible. I didn't dislike it as much this time around, but it still has a number of the hallmarks of sort of average Michael Bay stuff that we don't really want to see. It goes for too long. I think I kind of mentioned it the first time around. The scale of it just explodes in comparison to the first one.
Because they end up in Cuba or something.
At the end and
they wreck the place.
Bloody armies and bloody little strike forces that they put together. Yeah,
they're police officers.
Exactly.
Not,
I know.
military.
I know. Brooklyn Nine-Nine as well. I pretty much finished the season. Yeah, loved it. Just loved it. I don't know why they ever cancelled it initially. Yeah, but I'm glad it was revived. And the last one I watched was The Terminator. Went back to some old... It came about because my son and I had been playing a little bit of Broforce. If you haven't played Broforce, you got to check it out. It's it's kind of like an 8-bit style sort of Contra game, but they use all these classic characters, unlicensed of course. They just change the name, like they call it the Brominator and names like that instead. But it's essentially, the game is just chock full of characters like the Terminator, a couple of different iterations of Chuck Norris, Arnie as John Matrix is in there, Rambo's in there, Rambro is in there. But yeah, so my son was seeing some of them, and so we thought we'd just delve into some of the characters. So I had a look at the ones I could probably show him, and Terminator was the first one.
Gem. Yeah, absolute gem.
Still great.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where if you want to think about the holes in how it all comes together, that's there, and there's plenty that you could delve into. Yeah. But if you just take it as a movie experience, it's just awesome. If you're not thinking about that sort of stuff, it's just a great ride to go on. That was it for me.
All right, let's take a break. Here's the trailer for 1997's Dante's Peak.
It turns day into night, air into fire. Nothing in the world can compare to its power. The most awesome sight you will ever see may be your last. In the town of Dante's Peak, a volcano is turning nature into a nightmare. Come on! Brosnan, Linda Hamilton,
Oh my God.
Dante's Peak. The pressure is building.
Dante's Peak from 1997, directed by Roger Donaldson, who directed Species and Cocktail. Produced by Gail Ann Hurd, who produced Aliens and Armageddon, and Joseph M. Singer, who produced Courage Under Fire. The screenplay is by Leslie Boehm, who wrote A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child.
Mm-hmm.
It stars Pierce Brosnan as Harry Dalton and Linda Hamilton as Rachel Wando. The budget was $116 million. Wow.
Youch.
And the box office was $178 million worldwide. Just to give you a little bit of an understanding, this came out at a similar time as another volcano film, Volcano, starring Tommy Lee Jones. This did better business.
Yeah.
This came out first, actually. It was 3 months ahead. And just a little bit of trivia, Michael Douglas was originally set to play the lead. Too busy producing Stone Cold. Didn't have time. All right. What are your thoughts, Jared, on Dante's Peak?
It is a solid little bit of work. Well, a solid big bit of work on that budget.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good example of a movie that doesn't do a hell of a lot wrong, but it just lacks the classic moments. It lacks the classic lines. It lacks the scenes that everyone remembers. It's just pretty good all the way through.
Yeah.
Doesn't really have these dips where you're just out, you're bored. Doesn't seem to have them. But yeah, it's just, it never quite reaches, pardon the pun, never quite reaches Dante's Peak. So
No, not quite.
It's a solid 3 for mine.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly. I think they do a pretty good job across the board. The film is better in the second half when the volcano goes off for me. When we get to the action, there's something about volcanoes that presents a lot of danger. It brings a lot of danger to the table. And in a disaster film, you need that. You need to be able to continue to up what's happening. And because the volcano spewing lava and that whole ash, that cloud that just wipes out the entire city and all that stuff, it presents quite a dangerous environment, and I like that. I thought it was pretty well handled. Action scenes solid. Overall, apart from a little bit of sag once the scientists get to town, and there's a little bit of sag there, but overall it's a solid disaster film, and it gets 3 out of 5 for me. But you're right, it does lack a big ticket moment or an emotional gut-wrenching thing. You know, like, for example, let's put something like Armageddon on the table. Well, let's put it on the table. Armageddon is also, you know, a B picture. They're B films.
Yeah.
But Armageddon ramps up some of the action stuff, so there's a couple of really cool action scenes, and there's a couple of emotionally resonant moments in Armageddon. Something like this doesn't have it. Which, you know, love it or hate it, that's kind of what you need.
You're preaching to the choir, mate. You're preaching to the choir.
Well, Armageddon's gold.
You don't have to try and kind of justify liking Armageddon to me. I'm there already.
But yeah, that's why something like that stands above this. But this is still all right.
Yeah.
Starting off on the fly, Brosnan. I like Brosnan. He's a likeable, solid guy. He's not quite at the top tier or anything.
Yeah.
But he'll do a job for you. And I think he does it all right here.
Yeah.
And I think the chemistry between him and Linda Hamilton's okay.
Does the job.
You don't feel the job.
I don't like Pierce Brosnan.
You don't like Brosnan?
Not just in this movie. I just don't really
you're
like
not a fan.
Unless he's putting on a fake Russian accent in final score.
Oh, I loved it.
No, look, he's
all right. He's
rock solid.
dependable.
He's rock solid. He's dependable. I'm not a Brosnan fan myself, but I can look at this and say, yeah, he does the job.
He does the job. His chemistry with Linda Hamilton's fine.
I'm actually more in the Linda Hamilton side of things. She always gives you this earnest kind of believability about what she's doing.
Yes, I totally agree. I got a dislike, unfortunately for her. It's not It's not negative on her.
Yep.
It comes down to character.
Right.
For me.
Okay.
Yeah, but look, those two are your B grade people that you can get
Yeah.
solid, believable, likable stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what you get.
Norrie's not available.
Norrie's not available. Michael Douglas goes, what the fuck? Well, who brought this to me?
Well, when you have to go to that next tier, they're both about as good as you can get for that.
Because it's funny to think about this in the context of Michael Douglas. Let's say Michael Douglas, 97, right? One of the biggest stars on the planet probably back then. The movie probably changes with him in the lead. Maybe for the better. I don't know. Maybe it's stronger.
No, I don't like Douglas either.
Yeah, but Douglas was
Norrie
a
any day
bigger
of the
star. Norrie definitely. Chris Sarand did it a pitch, But you're
I'd
right.
like a Bruce Campbell in this role.
Imagine that. You couldn't take it seriously. But yeah, those two are okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Practical effects.
Really good.
That was the stuff that I really liked.
Yeah, fantastic.
From what I read, they used a lot of models and miniatures, and it looks really great.
Yeah, there's a little bit of digital stuff, and you can usually pick it up.
And there has to be with things like the big cloud coming through and everything.
But, yeah, a lot of the town being wiped out and stuff is miniatures, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah. So I really applaud that.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a massive budget, so you had plenty of money to throw around.
Yeah.
But that's what that money will buy. That
Might
looks
I
really
add,
good.
the locations look great too. The locations.
You know how I feel.
Oh yeah, fantastic! I was looking at the scenery and thinking,
I was
you were just
pretty excited.
you were excited.
On the whole?
You're bar up. You'll see with you.
Oh, you're right, and I do like the idea of like a small town rather
the
than
thing
like a
about it
big
is,
city.
Like the natural kind of landscape stuff looks great, but the town also looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like they give it this sort of idyllic vibe that actually gives you this sense of, there's something to lose here. It's not fucking...
And this is kind of why I didn't particularly like Volcano, because Volcano's set in the middle of bloody New York City or
if I was watching
Los
Volcano,
Angeles, sorry.
I couldn't wait to see Tommy Lee Jones get gobbled up by that fucking lava, I'll tell you.
You're on a bit of a tear. You don't like anyone.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm just a prick of a bloke, so I can't help it.
And the visual effects are actually okay, like quite decent.
The visual effects are really
even
good.
even though it's older, they use it sparingly because you kind of needed it for the volcano when it's erupting, and for the most part they kind of shoot it in like I'm looking out the window of a car, and looking at it, and it looks pretty good. Like so most of the visual stuff works really well. The opening stuff is super cliche. The death of his girlfriend, or whatever it was.
Bad.
But it just at least quickly sets up the guy's traumatized. He's scarred and he's gonna have to step up at this moment, which is a classic staple of this shit.
Yeah.
You got to give your hero the I'm not sure I can do it angle. Or I have something that weighs down on me.
It hits all those sort of notes.
And the good thing is it takes like 2 minutes. It's in the credits. So I like the fact that they kind of get straight into it and get it out of the way.
Yep.
The people getting baked in the hot spring.
Yeah.
Nice way to kick off the danger.
Good
coming.
little opening. Good little opening.
And it's not like right in your face.
Yeah.
It's like small. 2 people have been boiled.
Yeah.
But it's not anything to be, like the town's not going to suddenly go, oh shit, we better get out of town.
It's always 2 people that were just burning up anyway, though. It's never a plain-looking middle-aged couple that are just up there
So you're saying
having a soak.
It's not a couple of fat old guys sitting around getting their bloody sweat on. Is that what you're telling me?
No, that's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, true. It always happens to be a young couple who are amorous rather than an older couple or a couple of old fellas or something like that.
Yep.
It's the only way to do it.
But it was, I liked it. I thought it was short and sharp again, but shot pretty well.
Yeah, but showcases the actual danger of the hot.
Yeah.
The lava as it begins to sort of start to come to the surface.
I think in general the movie is paced pretty well with how the events are happening, how they're kind of discovering them. how it's all how it all goes along. I was pretty happy with how they kind of...
Yeah, I don't think it dragged. Like, at no point was I sitting there really bored.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, I've got a problem with a little bit of sag, between the 30 and 45-minute mark, and I'll get to that. But I think the film livens up more when the volcano happens.
Yep.
As these movies tend to do, you keep it all back and then you just cut loose.
Yeah.
And it throws a lot at the characters. It puts them in a lot of different situations, varies the situations well enough, and is fairly exciting throughout a lot of that.
Yeah.
I actually think one of the better scenes for me is actually when it first hits and the town and everyone starts coming out, and they kind of shoot it in this real chaotic kind of manner.
Yeah.
Cars bumping into each other trying to get out, everybody sort of racing and rushing to get... So there's a lot of chaos happening.
Yeah, and it was kind of a nifty little way to do it, that everyone's together in the meeting, because it was going to take place in a town that's looks pretty well populated but still doesn't feel all that big.
Yeah.
So when they got all the people together, then all of a sudden, like you said, there's people spewing out of that gym.
Yeah, stepping all over each other.
The cars start crashing into each other, and it certainly ramps up the chaos a little
People
bit.
start... Remember when Brosnan takes a righty and goes into the lake?
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
people start following him?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's classic what would probably happen in that sort of
Yeah,
moment.
absolutely.
Is that you're looking for a way out and you'll make some
anything.
bad choices.
Yep.
I mean, look, I don't know how vehicles go when they're fully immersed, when their engine's fully immersed in water. But
hey, we'll take
we'll
that.
take that.
I actually also quite liked the boss, how he was played as... Started out kind of stubborn, but then it moved to he's acting out of other interests. Obviously, he didn't see the danger on the level that Brosnan saw it,
Yeah.
but you could see his angle was political and financial rather than...
And he did say, you don't understand the political situation.
Yeah, and I liked that because it meant they could still share the same space. They were still working together.
Yeah.
And also, it's kind of paid off when... What was his name? It was Paul, wasn't it? When the bridge is getting washed away and he's left on it, it was still a bit of a gut punch. Like, because you still felt like he was... It wasn't a huge one, but I felt like it was more than if he was just the stubborn kind of scumbag that was not listening. That would have been a bit of a frustrating thing to have, so I felt like I liked it that
they tried to shape it a little better than normally what you'd get in this stuff.
And I appreciated that.
Yeah.
And felt that, although not having a huge impact, when he got washed away, it did have more of a sort of punch than it probably would have.
I mean, that's what you get when you hire the guy who wrote Nightmare on Elm Street 5. You get shape, you get nuance, you get a little something different.
You get colour. You just add a little bit of colour to the scenes.
Colour to the scene. There's a couple of really nice visual moments in the final, in the big sort of action sequence after action sequence. The one where the chopper dips out of the ash to air.
Yeah.
And then kind of goes...
bounces
and it bounces and comes back up over them and then plows into something and blows up. Really cool visual scene. And I also love just when they get to the old lady's cabin and the lava is just spewing out everywhere and the trees are on fire and it's just like... It's such a dangerous environment. Like, you can't just turn and run. The stuff is everywhere.
Yeah.
Likening it to the bushfire situation that's currently going on in Australia, think about, like, just the stuff they showed, some of the pictures there, it's just hell. You know, and there's nowhere to go. I feel that when you come with a disaster film, you need to have some real danger on the go.
Yeah.
And this movie has quite a bit of it. Like, the volcano offers up a lot of dangerous situations that work well, and they play them for everything they can. You know, the sequence where they drive across the lava and, you know, the tyres are burning and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
A little bit ridiculous,
Absolutely
but
ridiculous.
exciting.
But exciting and looks cool. And, you know, there's the whole thing of there's more lava tipping down the hill.
Yeah.
As they're trying to get across. Like, it just adds a nice little bit of extra stakes and it just sort of builds a little tension.
You can buy some of these kind of,
Yeah.
you know, this trouble at every turn kind of thing that they stumble into. You know, they get out of one problem and they stumble into another one, you know.
Yeah. The grandmother sacrificing herself, so to speak.
Yeah.
It kind of works okay. It's a classic trope of this type of film,
I liked it.
but I've got a dislike to it too.
I've got a dislike around the character there, but I wasn't expecting it.
Really?
I didn't see it coming. And it's, I should have, but they just sort of played it to, she was just in the background, and then
Yeah.
off she goes, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't mind that.
Yeah, it was okay. That was another nice scene, the acidic lake.
Yeah.
That added some nice sort of tension to the whole thing.
Yeah, that was good.
Just don't sing to me, Pierce. My bumhole's clenched during that. I have not got the air to sing.
Yeah. You're the person at the other end of the boat going, shut up.
Shut your mouth over there, I'll push you in. Bridge getting washed away and taking Paul. Solid. Was okay.
It looked really good when they were
great,
on
yeah,
it, and it was shaking around. That was one of those moments where you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
It felt like you were just really amped up watching it happen. Like, they managed to get a few of those little moments in there.
Yeah, when the volcano finally kind of blows everything out and tosses that cloud out, and it just rips the town to shit, is a pretty explosive little sequence.
Yeah, and that was where a lot of seemingly the miniatures and stuff were in there.
But Pierce Brosnan does say that, it'll take a minute to get here, and yet they somehow outrun it.
Yeah. Well, it's moving with plenty of pepper, and you see him kind of just cruising along.
Chuck her into fourth, mate. Step on the gas, brother. We're not getting out of here unless you really put it to the floor. And my final is more of a personal thing, and it's actually kind of tense. I got a real problem with being sort of crushed.
Yeah.
And when he is in that car and the rocks are coming down, and it out of a couple of times it just sort of comes out of nowhere where the roof just goes, and I was just sitting there going, I think of the Beaconsfield miners and think I could not have handled that.
No.
Like, I'd have gone Troppo.
Yeah, I'd have been laying in my
I'd have been Harry Warden.
I'd have been laying in my own filth for 10 minutes, and I'd have been that. This is it. I can't handle this.
Yeah. So I've got a real problem. I got a real phobia with that. I don't like that at all, and so it really created a tense kind of moment.
Hit home.
Yeah, it was really it was quite good.
Right.
Have you got any other likes there,
I've got a few more, actually.
Yeah, right.
I've got quite a few more.
Go for it.
I actually really liked the romance angle for once.
Yeah, I thought it felt kind of pretty real. You know, it kind of had a realistic.
The two of them, as you said, they had a bit of chemistry and a little, few of the little conversations. They spend a little bit more time than you might expect in this sort of picture to kind of put it together.
Yeah.
Mind you, if she's offering up an eggplant parmy, I'm saying, I'm busy tonight. Making a chicken parma.
Sorry, what's that? You're making a chicken parma? No, it's an eggplant parma. Chicken parma?
yeah. No, eggplant. Pass.
Oh, yeah, look, I've got an early night. I need to turn in. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought again that's where you get the value out of those two people in the leads. For some reason, Terry and his treatment of the robot made me laugh.
Just kicking it all the time.
Just kicking it. Oh, shit, you piece of shit, and kicking it. And I thought, that reminds me of any minor inconvenience. That's what I turned to.
That's your stock and trade. Just kick it.
Toaster's not working. Oh, shit. Start kicking things. I think that's the best way to approach it.
Exactly.
The line when... Again, this is probably part of the reason I like the romance stuff. The line, I don't know how to tell you this, but I've never really cared for your coffee. Fantastic line. Absolutely loved it. It is followed up by one of the worst, but that particular line, absolute belter.
Yep.
Other than that, it was really only the kids going to get grandma. Because they'd set up that the little boy was... kind of known for, his mum knows he's out in the mine and just pissing off. I thought, that makes sense.
Makes a little bit of sense.
And it just adds that added complication.
Look,
silly move.
Asses are getting kicked when I catch up with him.
I'm 0 to 100 when
I like the fact that it split them.
Yeah,
and they had to go after them because once again the stakes are raised. The kids are alone.
Do something like that, because if it was just them going from the town's gone to shit, getting out of it, then it would have dragged.
Yep.
I felt. So just chucking a little bit of something in like that to, you know, oh, we've got to backtrack or do whatever we need to do, I felt that was all right.
Yeah, handy.
Other than that, it was just the sort of things you mentioned when the shocks hit the town and stuff. I was quite impressed with that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Dislikes.
Brosnan. No, I'll ease up on him. He was pretty good.
Most of the characters are purely one-dimensional. Apart from Brosnan and Linda Hamilton,
Yep.
not a lot of time is spent,
No.
unfortunately, which is what you expect
Yeah,
for
it
these
would-
type of films.
Yeah, they just
but you
try to
kind of
paint-
just get your bog standards.
They try to paint a few of your standard sort of...
You know,
standard
your disbelieving
people in there.
boss,
Yep.
your group of
Yep.
nerdy scientists, the
the
mother-in-law
town people
refuses to come down.
The town people that are more worried about the business. and Sort of, yeah.
Classic stuff.
Yep.
But they're very one-dimensional.
Yes.
Even, and this is my dislike about Linda Hamilton,
Yep.
her character gets nothing to do.
Yeah.
She doesn't do anything. And you've got this actress who has played the tougher roles,
Yeah.
tough female roles.
Not only that, but she's in a really sort of prominent position in the town. Like, she's demonstrated
Yeah,
there
she's
to be
capable.
very capable. It's...
But she's not driving the car, and so the entire action stuff usually takes place with them driving away from something.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's Brosnan doing
doesn't
all
even
that.
get to hold the bloody propeller on the boat. Nothing.
I did love
Yeah.
that bit where he pulls the propeller up. It's
It's
been
just
belted
going,
off, and he's
punch
like,
goal.
shit.
Yeah, that was good. Early on, Pierce cranking out push-ups.
Not
Look,
getting low.
I mean, it gives me hope that I still might be an action star one day.
Yeah. He's not getting low into those push-ups.
He's not getting a lot of
He's
dips.
doing a lot of head work.
He looked like me on about day 4 of the push-up challenge.
No, he didn't look like me because I was on the ground. I was laying flat.
Yeah, I was laying in the curled up ball saying, help me jeebus at that point.
But yeah, Pierce, get lower into it, and put your ass down because it was kind of in a V. And, don't hump it. If I'm giving you some tips, Pierce, about this, don't hump the air.
Yeah, flatten the back a little bit. Flatten the back. Get a bit lower.
Get up high and then come down into
And
it.
then you'll be able to crank out a solid 10 to 15 like I can, mate, and then just collapse into a heap after that.
Yeah. Look, if I get to 20, I'm doing pretty well.
He was sitting there too. He was kind of going,
Yeah. Breathing's all over the shop too. Like, breathe in, then blow out, mate.
I think if I'd have seen that, I would have just said, let's just have him sitting on the bed. Let's just have him flicking through channels.
Should we have him doing sit-ups? I think that's where I'm going. Let's get him in the sit-up routine. Crunches even. He doesn't have to come all the way up.
Yeah, he looked like he was doing it looked like he was doing some Tenacious D work, as you said. It looked like he was doing cock push-ups or something.
Yeah, Pierce. Look, mate, if you have to spend 10 minutes with a push-up coach, then you have to do it. Yeah, look, you give it some... give us some reality, mate.
Yeah.
And there was no need for the push-ups. He was a
No,
science guy.
he
Like, there was
wasn't that
no
kind
need.
of-
Yeah.
He wasn't.
He was no physical guy.
No, he wasn't your Rambo kind of hero. Like, we didn't need to see him cranking out the push-ups in the morning.
Yeah. We didn't need to see him stick fighting in Thailand. Yeah. We did.
Breaking rocks.
One of the many jobs that Rambo's had.
After my partner was killed, I started climbing up volcanoes and breaking the rocks instead.
Yeah, that was kind of... I didn't have that written down, but the look on my face when I saw it was, look, you need to talk to a personal trainer.
Yeah, there's apps you can get now, mate.
Get on YouTube, mate. There are videos. It seems a little bit weird that you put a small town at the base of a volcano that's dormant.
Yeah,
As Pierce says, it's dormant. It's not dead.
Correct. And regardless of the money that you're putting into the town, one day it's going to go up.
Yeah, look, open a book.
Today.
Open an Encyclopedia Britannica and flick to P. Bombay. Remember what happened there? It was pretty bad. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, the town planning is kind of, we don't need to consider this, it's going to happen one day, right?
Yeah, it's going to happen, so don't put it there.
Yeah.
This is one of my big dislikes, and you might not be happy about this, but I'm just not a fan of the trope of the naysaying boss or the naysaying town manager. I don't like it, because even in Jaws, which is one of the great films of our time,
kind of kicked it off it
kind of brought it up, and that Jaws has a couple of great lines, the heat limits, the whole thing about, you yell barracuda, that kind of thing. But it's still a shit move.
Well, this is why I liked it in this particular instance, is because they didn't just play it as that.
Yeah,
they played it as
still.
He explains. He's coming from. He's done it before.
Yeah,
he did it to a town. This is the thing, and then he talks about the political influence. And I mean, there was parts of it where I'm thinking, well, is he getting kickbacks or something here? But
I didn't.
But the thing that I liked about it was that it only went so far. Yeah, he didn't just say, "Pack your shit and get out of here" or something like that. And then Brosnan had to go rogue. They were still working together, but he was kind of like, "You're." Look,
I'll give them some credit for that. They at least tried to, as I said, they shaped it a little. But I'm telling you now, if I'm living in Dante's Peak at the foot of Hellmouth Volcano, and a volcanologist rocks up and says, "Look, something's not looking good," I'm grabbing the go bag and getting out of town.
Answer me this. Other volcanologists
are saying there's nothing.
The senior volcanologist is saying, yeah, he wandered up there, but now we've brought all the equipment and done all the measurements and stuff, and there's nothing that we can go on here.
Yeah, but what I liked about it was he didn't want to just get everyone out of town, Brosnan. He just wanted to bring everyone together and give them the understanding there's a possibility this might go off.
So what you're saying is why I liked it. He didn't run down the streets going, "Pack your shit."
For some reason, I just don't like this stuff.
No, because even though you're only taking this small step and you're acting in what you feel is the best interests, you're not. Because of this political reason, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying this is textbook, but I felt like they put more into it than you would normally get out of these characters. And the fact that they continue to work together, Paul ends up in the shit and essentially says, yeah, you were right. But again, they don't make him, the reason, I guess, I didn't have so much of a problem with him in that role is the whole team and him essentially see the same things that say there really isn't a problem. And they all do that. Really, when you look at it, Brosnan doesn't have anything to go on other than
Brosnan has his gut.
I saw a couple of, I saw some things.
I think that I find that shit cheap.
Well,
that they don't need to do
I find that sort of stuff cheap. Essentially they hit every cliche. So if they're going to do that, I'm like, well, at least there was a couple of layers that I wouldn't normally get.
I'll give it credit for layering.
Yeah.
But I just don't like it. Why can't they do these without that?
Well, because
there's not a necessity for that.
Well, there is. There isn't, because it still could have been. You have to find attention from somewhere.
But you still could have been that Brosnan says...
You can't swan around town for an hour and go...
But it could have been
something's going on, but there's nothing. But it could have been
that Brosnan said, "Look, I'm a little concerned."
Who's going to be?
The guy who was putting in the money, or one of those. They had that, and that just got shafted.
But that's going to be no different.
Yeah, I know, but
they would be even worse because they don't have.
They're more villainous, I guess.
Well, they're more villainous, but they don't have the. At least with Paul, it was like I gave you a week.
Yes,
we did the materials here.
True.
I felt like that was stronger than if you had this guy at Moneybags with a bloody swanning around town with a monocle and saying, this is bullshit. It's hard to do that after Jaws.
I actually think this movie could have done without the other scientists, and the reason why I say that is because that was the bit that slowed me down. That was the sluggish. When they were up on the volcano and they had the robot and all that shit, I felt that was where it sagged.
I thought that needed to be more important. It felt like that should have been more important. When he says, you're the guy that's got to say what we saw up there,
Yep.
and the other guy doesn't, that should have been huge, but it just kind of came
Got
and
shafted. I just felt that was the sluggish bit.
Yeah,
When they turned up and Brosnan and Co are up on the on the volcano, and they're mucking around. There's a lot of science talk, and we don't see Linda Hamilton for about 15 minutes. I just felt that was probably one pacing problem.
I didn't hate it. It felt.
I didn't hate it. Like, it's not like I sat there going, "Oh my god, get this over with."
It felt like kind of. I don't know. It felt like sort of necessary steps.
It felt like, yes, we need to have it. We need to have it.
Doing something.
We need to have it, and we also needed that for Brosnan to say the whole. It was shifting up there. The thing was, it was magmatic, not seismic.
Probably could have quickened it a little. Maybe not had him in the hotel.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Because
I don't know.
Because the little crew of people, apart from Paul, were kind of faceless.
Yeah, they were.
They were kind of like faceless goons.
Yep.
They were just sort of not there.
Yep. Except for Terry. Love the way he kicked his robot. Excellent.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of that shit. And I agree. Now that you've talked it through,
but I just felt like
now that you've talked it through, it's better than it's probably been in a lot of others.
Yeah.
I'm looking at something like Daylight.
Yeah.
That tries to do something similar.
Yeah.
And kind of botched it.
I mean, I feel if you give Paul a couple of real cracking lines, or the dialogue's a bit sharper, I'm looking at that going, well, that was pretty good.
Because Paul's problem is similar to the older lady, that they make gestures, big gestures, but no one gives a shit because you don't know them.
Yeah,
like they're really one-dimensional, both of them. Paul's got a little bit more, but he doesn't get a lot of time. We spend a lot more time with Brosnan and Co.
Yeah.
And they make these gestures like everyone else can leave, I'm staying, and I'm like, you should go too, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is not a gesture that's required.
Yep.
Just get in the car. And the old lady's even worse because she really does nothing.
Well, she was a bit of a dislike, and this is why I was shocked in a way that she got in the boat, because prior to that she was fucking useless. She was just like when we first meet her.
She seemed to be shitting all over Linda Hamilton for no reason.
Shitting all over Hamilton. Real charmer when she meets Brosnan. Like she goes. She introduces a volcanologist or whatever, and she goes, "Oh yeah, so this mob did this study, whatever. Nothing going on then, nothing going on now." I'm thinking, okay, could you produce your research on this? Yeah. And then 2 minutes later, we're in the wilderness, and the kids find the squirrels, and she goes, some sort of squirrel epidemic. They've been dropping all over the mountain. I'm sitting there going, okay, but you're saying everything's fine, nothing going on, but you've noticed that there's a squirrel epidemic, have you? She was a pain in the ass.
And look,
and it's a character that's just a trope, basically. Yes. And hers, I felt, was probably a really poor example. Eventually, the heart of ice melts away, and she has that kind of line with Linda Hamilton about how her son made a mistake and all this sort of shit. But it's like, you're too late.
Too late. Too late, you bitch.
Thanks for burning your legs, but we're leaving you here.
Yeah. Linda Hamilton goes, look, I would carry you, but no. I'm leaving you here.
I would carry it.
One thing I was going to say, coming back to Paul, 2 people were boiled in that hot spring. Yeah. Now, if you were to actually do an autopsy and check the temperature of that water, you'd realise there was something wrong.
Yeah, but he says there's a number of explanations for that. Is there?
Is there? What? Somebody is boiled to death.
Yeah.
It means the water must be so hot.
Number of explanations for that, Adam. Just
Then what are they?
I'd like to hear one, Paul.
Yeah. That cheapens it again.
Yeah.
Because it says after giving him layers, they then conveniently sweep aside a major point. That would have been 2 people are now dead, and they were in a hot spring. That means that hot spring is so hot that they died of being basically boiled. That's can only be. Oh yeah, that's right. Is this place next to a possibly explosive volcano? right. Yeah, shit.
Yeah.
Time to get everyone out.
Yeah, yeah.
So they kind of cheat.
Yeah, they do.
They cheat to give. They give Paul the high ground.
They don't give him any reason to explain that.
In fact, they make Brosnan out to be a lunatic.
Make him like he's crazy Ralph to start with. He's just fucking rambling and talking nonsense. Yeah, I did. See, this is the thing, Paul. I'm not saying he's a great character.
No,
he's one of these things in the movie that's just like everything else. It gets it pretty right.
Yeah.
But not quite all the way there.
Yeah.
So I think what
it
you
takes
said
liberties to say, well, we'll forget about the two people who died in here.
Yeah.
Because if anybody did any sort of work on that, you're saying something's wrong.
Yeah.
And we need to get out of here. And the whole town would have been packed up.
Those two were just rubbing up on each other, so so much friction with the water starting to boil.
There are a number of explanations, so they were getting too frisky.
Yeah, it wouldn't have happened to wouldn't have happened to a couple of blokes that were just up there looking for a quick spa. You got to be careful if that's what you're doing. You know how these things can turn out.
Due to the fact that they're trying to capture like the seismic movement of everything once it all goes off, some of the camera work's pretty shaky at times because they're kind of trying to showcase like the earthquake type of situation. It's sometimes difficult to see what's actually happening. Only a little bit in the opening sequence where the chaos is happening, which I understand why you're taking that approach, but there are a couple of times where you can't even tell who's who.
Yeah.
In the whole bit, so that was a little bit disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
And my last dislike was, I think I already mentioned it, Pierce. Shut the fuck up and don't sing "Row Row Yo." We are under threat.
Yeah.
Sphincters are puckered and tightened. Nobody speaks.
Yeah.
We're getting across here.
Not only that, like choice of song, Pierce. We can't fucking put our hands in the water. We can't put anything in the water. We can't row the fucking boat.
Well,
that's the point.
It seems Pierce can. He just wrapped his jacket around it.
It must have been a dryzer boat or something. Yeah, he just wrapped it up and off she went.
That's crap.
Well, it seemed to make short work of the steel propeller.
Yeah, it would have shoot his arm off in seconds.
But that's all right. He's a scientist. He knows what he's doing. I couldn't help but laugh that Graham was known for hanging around at the mine, and Linda Hamilton's character knows this so well that she'll just roll up and you call out Graham and here he comes. You're the fucking mayor of the town. Get a new door on the joint, would you? Like, he's just
put a lock on
it. He just climbs under the door. So yeah, I think we need to get a new door on there. That's the town meeting agenda number 1. New door for the mine. Bing, done. And the last one was the line after what I felt was one of the great lines was when he says, "I never cared for your coffee." She goes, "Oh, I haven't been with anyone in a while," and he goes, "They say it's like riding a bicycle. Once you've learned, you never forget." And I was just like, "Oh God, come on, you two!"
But
take it somewhere else.
Did that seal
take
the
it down
deal?
the mine or something?
Did that seal the deal for him?
It was going to, but then the kid woke up. Personally, I think it's
not in reality.
Oh, is that the time? Pleasant evening. See yourself out.
Eggplant Palmer. Oh shit! Is that the time? I'm leaving. Yeah, I had no other dislike.
No, that was it for me.
All right,
all done.
That is Dante's Peak. You can find us on Podomatic, iTunes and Spotify. Send us an email at thrillme@iinet.net.au. We're on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com, and on Instagram at thrillmepodcastau. Make sure you rate and review us, and keep an eye on our Facebook page for details of what we're going to cover next. But until then, take it easy, and we'll catch up with everyone later. Cheers.
Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at iinet.net.au.